This is 7th grade Geography of World Regions, Unit 1, Lesson 5 Overview, and we are here for Lesson 5 activities. First, you're going to want to click on your lesson guide, and here we are in the lesson guide. We're saying 2 to 3 days to do this. In this lesson, students are going to learn how to tell the difference between conditions and connections and why the difference is important. They're going to compare and contrast two neighboring towns to justify why they create a region. All right, so the things that we've suggested for you in Activity 1 is called Regions Around the World. It's a PowerPoint presentation that basically introduces students to what a region is. And then it wants to help make a connection for them. So think about their house and all the different places and the ways you could divide your house. You may want to do a little brainstorm about this. And then basically you're going to have your kids create a visual that divides their home into regions. A chart, drawing, graphic organizer, or whatever they can creatively come up with. They're going to divide their home into regions, and then they have to justify the region. So they're going to do a descriptor of the region and a name identifier of the region, of the different places of their home. So that is a beginning activity, a hook to get students interested in what we're going to be learning in this unit. All right, and then to follow up with that, you're going to do a discussion of the conditions and connections using the Geographic Conditions Connections PowerPoint. You will want to make sure that you show that in slideshow mode, otherwise the functions don't work. There's some little things that drop in on it, and if you don't have it in slideshow, it will not work. All right. In Activity 2, we're going to be doing a simulation of sorts using the Conditions and Connections student handout and the PowerPoint that is Conditions and Connections simulation. We're going to be having students take a look at some different locations. And in this activity, they are trying to decide which area they should build in. Okay? So our emphasis here is they need to learn to understand that, connections are important, and having those connections could help us, but also conditions are important. What are conditions? What are locations? So you're going to walk them through this simulation where they can decide which of these areas are the ones that is the one that they should live in. Okay, so you can see your map here has a key on it that lets you know what's going on in that area, and they're going to analyze those to decide which one. So there are some guides that go along with this activity that help them decide which is the best one to go to. So be sure to prepare that so that you have the right resources available for your students to participate in this activity. All right, so that takes us to Activity 3. And in Activity 3, what we want to do here is to help students determine why where they live is considered a region. So we kind of live in the CSRA. That's a great landing place to jump off of. Why? Why are we the CSRA? What do we have that binds us together? What are our conditions? What are our connections that create a region? So we're suggesting take like Aiken, North Augusta, or Aiken and Augusta, North Augusta and Augusta. So two neighboring towns. Do some, map hunting and looking for conditions and connections that bind us, that make us into a region. And then have students create a Venn diagram that helps them identify the similarities and differences of the conditions. And then basically outline in a chart what are the connections, what are the physical conditions, what are social conditions, what are economic conditions. And when we talk about social conditions, here is where we kind of want to focus on the cultural aspect. So why can you go to a certain area and find that a lot of Vietnamese people live in that area? Well, that would be a cultural bind. So those are some of the social conditions you might be looking for as to what binds people together socially. And then, of course, economic conditions. What about the economy makes, certain attributes take place? And then how can we justify these towns as creating a region? And then we'd like for them to share what they found out. We have attached a few maps of Aiken and North Augusta and a few links to where you can find other maps. And hopefully you will also find that attached we will have an exemplar for this using, like Columbia and Lexington. We're in the process of that. All right, so this is Lesson 5, Geography of World Regions.